What is going on, YouTube world? My name is Ghiman Mckinney. Appreciate you guys for watching this video today. Be sure to smash this like button right now, as it does help these videos get to the public and the channel to grow. Subscribe to this channel if you're new as well. I do post a ton of great sports videos weekly and almost every single day if I can, and turn on post notifications too, so you don't miss a single one of those videos that is posted. It's only right to you guys. College football season is right around the corner. I want to give you guys a top 10 list for the 10 most talented teams in college football before the season starts, in my humble opinion. I did this list about roughly a month ago, okay? So I'm going to put on the screen my list from about roughly a month ago of where I thought certain teams were. So there you see it on the screen. Those were the 10 best teams to me based on talent, okay? This is the criteria of this list. It's not based on what you did last year. It's not based on, what I'm projecting you to be. It's based on how good of a team do you have, okay? How talented is your roster? That's solely what this list is based on. Who has the flat out best rosters and players? This is what this top 10 list is all about. Who has the best team? Who has the best players, okay? So, I figured I'm going to give you guys a top 10 right before the college football season starts, okay? And by the way, guys, if you're wondering why I'm not in my, normal location, I'm actually in college now, okay? I'm a college student at the University of Toledo in a school in Northern Ohio, okay? I'm officially a college student, okay? So, that's the vibes right now. We in college, baby. We in college. I will potentially be at another location recording videos sometimes. There's another location, like there's a studio that I can go into and record and things like that. But again, I can't always get into that studio just because they have certain restricted hours, okay? But again, I'm here in my dorm room, okay? So hopefully y'all like the setting. This is the best I can do right now. If there is another great room that I can go into, I will go into that room and record. But hey, I'm giving y'all videos, so that's the thing. That's the biggest thing. All right, but either way, we're getting right to this list. I'll give you some teams that I think just missed this top 10 list of 10 best teams based on talent. For me, Texas A&M, Washington, and Florida are right there. There are three teams that I do think potentially will be in the top 10, at some point this year. I do think all three of those teams will be in the top 10 at some point this year, okay? Texas A&M, they're a very good team, but I think they're about a year away, about 1 year away. They got a pretty good quarterback in Kellen Mond, okay? They have a pretty solid defense. They have some very good tight ends and wide receivers. I do think Texas A&M is going to be able to score some points this year, but again, they lose some key players on defense. Again, they are playing a tough schedule this year, guys. I don't think Texas A&M is going to be in the top 10 consistently, but again, based on talent, they're a pretty good team. I do think there are a couple more teams. They're about 10 or 11 teams probably better than them, but Texas A&M for me is right there. They're a very good team. Washington. Now, Washington, they won the Pac-12 last year. I get that, but again, as far as being one of the 10 most talented teams in the nation, I just don't quite see it, okay? Washington obviously won the Pac-12 last year, but again, this year, they lose a ton of stars on defense. They lose Byron Murphy. They lose Taylor Rapp. They lose a ton of great defensive players. They only return 2 stars on the defensive side of the ball, okay? But they got Jacob Eason. They got a pretty good head coach in Chris Peterson. And again, Washington, listen, don't be discouraged if you're not on this top 10 list, because you obviously can go out there and prove it on the field. You look at teams like Florida State and USC. They get a ton of great recruits every year. They do absolutely nothing to win games, okay? USC and Florida State are huge disappointments these past 2 years, okay? So recruiting rankings and how good your team is based on talent does not really matter here. Chris Peterson knows how to get the best out of 3-star recruits, 4-star recruits. Washington is not one of those schools that consistently rolls in 4 and 5-star players, okay? That's just not the nature of their school. They're starting to get some better players as far as recruits go, okay? But again, Washington is not one of the 10 most talented teams, but I do think they will definitely be in the top 10 a lot this year, especially due to their schedule. But Washington's right there for me. And Florida, to me, they're a pretty good team. They have NFL defensive backs. They have an NFL defense, okay? But again, I have questions about Florida's offense. I do think Felipe Franks is a very good quarterback, but again, they lose a ton of talent on the offensive line. They did lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They did lose Ja'Kai Polite, some very key defensive players from last year. But again, they're a pretty good team. They're coming off a big win versus Michigan in a bowl game. But to me, there are, yes, legitimately 10 more talented teams this year than Florida. I do think Florida will probably end the year in the top 10, but again, this is based on how good your roster is. And Florida has lost a ton of great recruits. There have been a ton of recruits that have left the University of Florida as of late, okay? And Florida, you have to go all the way back to 2015 to the last 5-star player they have signed on their roster. So Florida's right there, but not quite a top 10 team as far as talent goes to me. This is what the list is based off, okay? So getting right to things. right off the bat, at number 10, I got Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is the 10th best team in college football as we speak today. I really do. Notre Dame obviously coming off a year in which they made the college football playoffs, coming off an undefeated season. That was very impressive. Again, was Notre Dame one of the 4 most talented teams last year? No, they were not. I do think there were about 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 teams that were more talented than Notre Dame last year. But Notre Dame, they earned their way into the playoffs last year. I do think Notre Dame has the potential to win about 10 games this year. I don't see them exceeding the 10-win mark. They have to travel to Michigan. They have to travel to Georgia. They have to travel to Stanford. I see them losing at least 2 of those games. But again, they got Ian Book at quarterback. They have a pretty good offense. The offensive line is pretty good. They have solid wide receivers. They're always going to run the ball pretty well. I do think Brian Kelly is a very good head coach. They do lose some key stars on defense with Jerry Tillery and Julian Love leaving for the NFL. They do lose Miles Boykin and Dexter Williams, but again, I see Notre Dame winning 9 or 10 games this year. They're a pretty talented team, but again, I do think there are about 9 teams, yes, on paper as far as talent goes, that are better than Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, kind of like Washington, they're not one of those teams that always rolls in 4 and 5-star players on a consistent basis, okay? That's just not the nature of the school. It's hard to recruit at Notre Dame, especially with the academics, okay? So Notre Dame, I see you going to potentially a New Year's Six Bowl this year, but again, I do think there are about 9 more teams more talented as far as a roster standpoint than Notre Dame this year. But at number 9, I got Texas. I think Texas is going to be a pretty good team. They got a pretty good quarterback in Sam Ehlinger. Okay, Sam Ehlinger is going to be the key to this team. He's the driving force to their team. He's a very good quarterback. I expect Sam Ehlinger to have some Heisman candidacy talks this year. I do think Sam Ehlinger will be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. Will he win it? No, I don't think he'll win it, but I think he will have a Heisman-type season, okay? They are going to need him to. Him and Colin Johnson, their stud wide receiver who returns for his senior season. He's a very good NFL prospect. I think he's going to do some good things in the NFL. Now, for me, Texas, yes, they're a talented team. They obviously are a very good team. They brought in some very good recruits. They had the 3rd best recruiting class this year coming in. In the 2019 class, Texas had the 3rd best recruiting class, okay? But again, Texas only returns 3 starters on defense this year. They only return 5 starters on offense this year. So in total, they only returned 8 players from last year. Now again, Texas, they could surprise some people this year. Tom Herman has recruited at an insanely high level. Again, the 3rd best recruiting class coming into this year. But again, Texas loses a ton of players from that team last year. A 10-win team last year. Can they potentially reboot? I do think they're the 2nd best team in the Big 12 this year. I think Texas is going to be a pretty good team. But again, I just see about 8 more teams. Not 9 more teams yet. 8 more teams are a little bit more talented than Texas this year. Again, could they surprise some people? We'll have to see. They're going to be playing a lot of babies this year, okay? They're going to be playing a lot of young players, but again, those young players are talented. I do think Texas is going to be a pretty good team. The 2nd best team in the Big 12. They're at number 9, okay? At number 8, I got the Oregon Ducks. Listen, to me, Oregon is the most talented team in the Pac-12. Will they win the Pac-12? That's to be determined on the football field, okay? But as far as talent goes, not saying they're going to go out and win the Pac-12, but as far as talent goes, Oregon is one of the 8 best teams in all college football as far as their roster standpoint goes. As far as a roster, Oregon is a top 10 team, okay? They're loaded on offense, okay? They return 10 stars on offense. Justin Herbert comes back for his senior season. I do firmly believe he's the best prospect in the 2020 NFL draft. I think he's a better NFL prospect than Tua Tagovailoa. Not saying he'll be a better college quarterback this year than Tua, but again, as far as the NFL goes, I think Justin Herbert has him in that area. The guy has a rocket arm. He can make all the throws, and he's going to put up some Heisman-type numbers this year. Now, again, Oregon did lose Dylan Mitchell this year, but again, Juwan Johnson, a very talented wide receiver, comes in from Penn State this year, a transfer. I think Juwan Johnson's going to really, make some contributions this year, okay? Oregon's defense to me is very, very underrated. I do think they have some very solid cornerbacks and linebackers and a very solid underrated pass rush, okay? And I do think Kayvon Thibodeau is a name to watch for. I think Kayvon Thibodeau, who was one of the top 2 recruits coming out of high school in this 2019 recruiting class, he's an absolute stud. I do think Kayvon Thibodeau is definitely going to contribute this year. He's going to play early as a freshman. I do think he's one of their better defensive players on that team right now. I think he'll make a splash. If Oregon wants to make a playoff push, they're going to need to beat Auburn week 1. They cannot lose to the 5th or 6th best SEC team, kind of like Washington did last year, and expect to get, some talks as far as getting into the playoffs. But as far as being a talented team, Oregon's right there. I like their offensive line. I like their quarterback. I think there's some questions at wide receiver as far as, experience goes. But again, they have some talented guys. They brought in the 7th best recruiting class this year. So Oregon has recruited at a pretty high level. Oregon to me is the 8th best team as far as talent goes. Okay, up next, the 7th best team to me in college football this year all right, up next at number 7, I got the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma to me is a solid team. They're a very good team. Obviously, last year they're coming off a college football playoff berth in which they made the college football playoffs for this. All right, at number 7, I got the Oklahoma Sooners. Coming off the 2nd straight year in which they made the college football playoffs, Oklahoma's potentially looking to win the Big 12 again and get into the playoffs once again. And to me, Oklahoma's going to win a lot of games. Their schedule is super, super easy, okay? The only tough team they really have to play is Texas, okay? The next toughest games they have to play is Iowa State, okay? And they get Iowa State at home. They have to go to Oklahoma State and play. Obviously, Oklahoma State almost beat them last year, but again, Oklahoma State does lose their quarterback from a year ago. They have some pretty good wide receivers, but again, when you look at the teams on paper, Oklahoma to me is a better team than Oklahoma State. I would be shocked if Oklahoma finishes with more than one loss. I see them going 11-1 or 12-0 this year based on their schedule alone. But as far as the talent of the team, they're pretty loaded. I mean, offensively, Oklahoma's a very good team. They're going to score some points. They got Jalen Hurts, who's a very good quarterback. He obviously led Alabama to two national titles back-to-back. Obviously didn't win the first one. Obviously got benched in the second one, and Tua came in. But again, Jalen Hurts, he won a lot at Alabama. Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's a dynamic player. He can run the ball. He's actually shown the ability to throw the ball pretty well too. He's improved his throwing mechanics in motion a lot. Okay, Jalen Hurts has come a long way as a thrower of the football since he left Alabama. Jalen Hurts, listen, there's a reason that Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray won 2 back-to-back Heisman trophies. Obviously, they're all-time great talented players. Now, Jalen Hurts, one of those players? No, he's not. Jalen Hurts is not going to win the Heisman this year. Jalen Hurts is not going to get picked, with the first overall pick in the draft. He's not going to go into the NFL and change the NFL franchise. But Jalen Hurts at the college level, he can play. And Lincoln Riley, he's gotten the best out of all his quarterbacks in the past. Okay, Lincoln Riley, if you play for Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, you're going to score some points. They got CeeDee Lamb. They got Charleston Rambo. They brought in the number 1 wide receiver recruit this year. They brought in the number 3 wide receiver recruit this year. So Oklahoma, they've recruited very well on offense, okay? So Oklahoma, they're going to score some points. The only problem is Oklahoma, their defense is terrible. But again, I hate that I'm saying this. Oklahoma last year was ranked 101st last year out of 130 teams in total defense as far as points were allowed. They were the 101st best team as far as points were allowed last year. I mean, that defense was god awful. I mean, they couldn't tackle, they couldn't rush the passer, the blown coverages, missed assignments. But again, Oklahoma does return 10 starters on defense. Can that defense get better based off experience? I do think they will. And again, if Oklahoma can, raise their level of play to about the 80th best defense, maybe the 70th best defense, they can win a national championship. That offense is very good. Now, is the offense as good as it was last year? No. But again, they will be a top 5 offense, definitely, okay? They're going to score some points. And again, they brought in Alex Grinch this year to be the defensive coordinator, to change some things on defense, I should say, for Oklahoma. I think their defense is going to be improved, okay? It has to be. That defense cannot get any worse than it was last year. I mean, they just can't get any worse. Oklahoma, to me, is the seventh best team on paper. We'll see what they do this year. I do think Oklahoma potentially is going to probably make the playoffs. I think they will probably win the Big 12. I got Oklahoma at number 7. The 6th best team to me is Michigan this year. I bumped Michigan up. I'm a little bit higher on Michigan than most people. Michigan, to me, they're a very good team. I think because Michigan lost to Ohio State so badly last year, okay, because they lost so badly to Florida in that bowl game, I think people forget how good Michigan was, for about a 10-week stretch in college football. I mean, there's about a 9 or 10-week stretch where Michigan was one of the 3 or 4 best teams in all college football. Michigan ran college football for about a 9 or 10-week stretch last year, okay? And the offense this year for Michigan is better. This is the best offense that Jim Harbaugh will ever have at Michigan, okay? Shea Patterson. Whether you think Shea Patterson is a good quarterback or an elite quarterback or a terrible quarterback, well, in reality, he's the best quarterback that Jim Harbaugh has ever had, okay? And they have NFL wide receivers. Tariq Black, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, they are going to play in the NFL. Michigan has some very good wide receivers. Their offensive line is elite. I do think that now they brought in Josh Gaddis from Alabama, their offense is going to open up a lot more this year. Michigan is going to change their approach on offense. They're going to air the ball out a lot more with Shea Patterson this year. And Michigan fans are excited, okay? And I would be excited too. Their offense is going to be very good. They're going to score some points. Now, again, Michigan, I do think they're going to still be a very good defense, but again, this year, they lose a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball from a year ago. You know, Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush, David Long, Chase Winovich, okay? They lose a ton of great players on defense. Those are 4 of the best players on defense in college football all of last year. They do lose Karan Higdon, who was their workhorse at the running back position. But again, Michigan, under Jim Harbaugh, has recruited very well. To me, they're neck and neck right there with Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think it will come down to Ohio State and Michigan once again this year to win the Big Ten. Michigan gets them at home. And let's be real, guys. If Michigan does not beat Ohio State this year, no one cares what they do. You know, Michigan can go undefeated up until that Ohio State game. If they lose that game, going to be a rough offseason for Michigan. But again, Michigan, as far as talent goes, they're a very good team. I expect them to score some points, and Don Brown, their defensive coordinator, is going to make sure that they're one of the best defensive teams on the field this year. He's one of the 5 best defensive coordinators in all of college football. At number 3, I got LSU. I think LSU is a very good team. And honestly, if LSU was in the Pac-12 or the Big 12, I think we could potentially talk about LSU potentially making the playoffs this year. Now, will LSU make the playoffs this year? Probably not. But again, LSU, as far as talent goes, I mean, they got talent. They're a very good team. You know, their defense is loaded. I mean, you know, they have NFL cornerbacks, they have NFL linebackers, they have NFL pass rushers, okay? LSU's defense is loaded with talent. LSU has recruited at an insanely high level each of these past 3 or 4 or 5 seasons, okay? Pretty much every year, LSU loses players to the NFL, they bring in players for the NFL, okay? LSU, you know, just reloads every year with an amazing recruiting job that they do. Ed Orgeron is doing a very good job at LSU. You know, they got Grant Delpit, arguably one of the 3 best defensive prospects in all college football. Arguably, maybe even the best defensive prospect. I mean, Grant Delpit is going to be a top 10 pick easily this year in the NFL draft to me. Now, LSU did lose Greedy Williams and Devin White, but again, they're going to be able to replace those guys with the recruits that they have brought in. LSU recruits at an insanely high level. And to me, last year, you know, LSU lost to some very good teams last year. They lost to Alabama, they lost to, you know, Texas A&M, and they lost to Florida. Those were all 3 ranked teams last year. LSU was not losing to any bad teams last year. They just lost to some very good teams. Their schedule was very hard last year, okay? But again, LSU this year, you know, you got Joe Burrow returning this year. I think Joe Burrow's actually going to have a very good year this year. I really do. Joe Burrow is one. I'm not saying Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback, but again, as far as, you know, him having a good year this year, I really do think that's a possibility. They brought in, you know, Joe Brady from the New Orleans Saints to be, you know, the passing game coordinator and to coach the wide receivers. So now, you know, Joe Brady, an offensive mind from the New Orleans Saints, is going to be able to, you know, help influence Joe Burrow to get the best out of Joe Burrow and to get the best out of those wide receivers. So again, LSU is making strides to improve that offense, okay? They obviously are going to need to improve on offense in order to, you know, make a push to potentially win the SEC this year. Their defense is going to be elite, but again, the offense holds me back a little bit. I think Joe Burrow is going to ball out this year. I think he'll have his best season yet. People forget, guys, Joe Burrow got onto LSU's campus literally roughly a month before the season started. He was a late transfer. So again, I think Joe Burrow, with a full offseason with the offense, is going to be able to grasp the playbook. I think that Joe Brady will help get the best out of Joe Burrow. I got LSU at number 5. Number 4, got Ohio State. There's not 3 or 4 more talented teams in college football than Ohio State. Ohio State is a loaded roster. They returned 10 starters on defense. The defense obviously was inconsistent last year, but again, I don't expect that to be the case this year. Chase Young, one of the best defensive prospects in all college football. I would not be shocked if he goes number 1 overall this year based on certain team needs, okay? You know, they got NFL cornerbacks. They got NFL linebackers, okay? Malik Harrison's going to be a first-round pick. You know, they got Tub Borland. They got Pete Warner. They return all their linebackers. They return pretty much all their defensive backs, okay? Ohio State's defense is going to be better this year. They obviously lose Nick Bosa, but again, they bring in NFL players pretty much every year through recruiting. Ohio State is one of those teams over the past 4, 5, 6 seasons that has brought in NFL talent. They lose NFL talent. They plug the next guy right in, okay? Justin Fields, I think, is a dynamic player. Obviously a 5-star recruit coming from the University of Georgia as a transfer. I think Justin Fields is going to ball out this year. His ability to run the football and throw the football will open up this entire offense. And they have NFL wide receivers. I mean, KJ Hill, Chris Olave, Benjamin Victor, Austin Mack. Those are some very good wide receivers. And they bring in a very talented guy in Garrett Wilson this year from Lake Travis High School. I think Ohio State's still the best team in the Big Ten. Will they win the Big Ten? We shall see. I got Ohio State at number 4. At number 3, I have the University of Georgia. Listen, there's not 3 or 4 more talented teams than Georgia. Pretty much like Ohio State. Georgia has brought in a ton of great recruits. Georgia has signed over the past 3 years 15 5-star players. That is actually surprisingly more than Alabama has signed these past couple years. Georgia is loaded. Georgia, to me, has the best offensive line in all college football. They got DeAndre Swift to run the ball behind that great offensive line. You know, Jake Fromm is a very good quarterback. And listen, Georgia's been right there cracking on the door. They've been knocking on that door these past couple years. Obviously losing to Alabama in the national championship game. Obviously losing to Alabama last year in the SEC title game. Okay, you know, Georgia has had big leads on Alabama. They've letting those leads get away. But again, you cannot deny the talent on Georgia's roster. Georgia, when you watch them play, they're one of the 3 or 4 most talented teams in all college football. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I would not be shocked if Georgia wins the SEC this year. Georgia, for me, is at number 3. Okay, number 2, I got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay, Alabama obviously has one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in college football, in Nick Saban. Okay, Nick Saban's a great head coach. Okay, they've brought in a ton of great recruits these past 4, 5, 6 seasons, pretty much this decade. Okay, Alabama's ran college football this whole past decade. Okay, they have Jerry Judy, arguably easily the best wide receiver in all college football this year to me. Okay, you know, they did lose Irv Smith, they did lose Jonah Williams on the offensive side of the football, but again, Alabama has about 3 or 4 or 5 NFL wide receivers on their roster. Tua Tagovailoa obviously finished last year second to Kyler Murray in the Heisman Trophy race. I think Tua is going to ball out this year. There was a little bit of talk about Tua, who was potentially a little bit hurt last year at the end of the year, but again, I think Tua is going to ball out regardless. Okay, you know, Alabama, I mean, they bring in the number 1 recruiting class once again this year. I mean, Alabama pretty much each year, there's the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class each year. They obviously made the national championship last year. They lost. They got ramrodded and curb stomped by Clemson. Can they make that next step this year? We shall see. But Alabama, to me, is pretty obvious. They're the second best team in college football to me. But the best team in college football right now is Clemson. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, easily the best quarterback in college football to me. And now he has a full off season, guys, to get better, to get stronger, you know, to get faster, to you know, watch film. Trevor Lawrence potentially could get better this year. In the college football playoffs, as a true freshman, Trevor Lawrence torched Notre Dame and Alabama's defense, okay? Trevor Lawrence was sensational in the college football playoffs. They got Travis Etienne, arguably the best running back in all of college football, okay? They have NFL wide receivers, Justin Ross and T. Higgins, okay? They have an elite offensive line. And the defense, yes, they do lose a ton of players from that defensive line off of last year, okay? But Clemson has recruited at an insanely high level. You know, they got players like Xavier Thomas. They got players like Justin Foster, you know, KJ Henry. They're ready and hungry to play. Clemson is one of those teams that just reloads and rebuilds each year. Clemson, to me, is a clear-cut number 1 team, and I would be shocked if Clemson loses more than 1 game. And I have Clemson actually going undefeated this year in the regular season. I would be shocked if they don't make the playoffs, but to me, Clemson is the best team right now in college football. So there you have it, my list right here. Be sure to comment where you agree with me and where you disagree with me. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video today. Be sure to smash this like button right now if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're new as well. I do post a ton of great sports videos weekly and almost every single day if I can. A fun fact about me is I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world. I want to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. Kind of like Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp. You get the point. Okay, I want to do sports, television, and radio for a full living once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. So the best thing you guys can do to just help me continue to grow as a young broadcaster is to just share this channel with all your friends, because potentially if this channel really gets somewhere, I want to start my own network, okay? You know, or potentially if it doesn't, you know, or if I fall a little bit short, I want to go into a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. So the best thing you guys can do to just flat out just help me grow as a broadcaster, help me learn, you know, get other people hip to this channel, you know, just share this channel with all your friends, share this channel on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, all that good stuff. Also, be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms. And once again, guys, just share this channel with everyone you know. Get everyone hipped and watching these videos. Get my voice out there and heard. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, all that good stuff. It's been your boy, Ghiman Mckinney, or you can just call me Juice. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in today. I really do. Have a God bless day. Stay motivated, you guys, and I'm out.